You know, I was telling you before the show, Ted Nugent is a nice guy. He's like a really nice guy.
God, do you remember trolling his message board from your message board?
You trolled his message board, and you were giving instructions on how other people should troll his message board. They were so like they were MAGA before MAGA was MAGA. Yeah. Like they were Make America Great. I had a bit about it in my act about not needing the draft. You just show up at Ted Nugent concerts and scoop them up in nets. And it was something along the line that they're going to take away NASCAR, and I forget the bit, but it was.
Do you even have a message board?
No, it's over.
Yeah, do they even exist? Because your message board would troll, and I got on board with the trolling Ted Nugent's message board, and I would passive-aggressively, I would backhand insult him by going, "Hey, we gotta band together and get the Nuge back on the airwaves. It's no fair. All these Rage Against the Machine wannabes are getting all the airplay, and when I call to request a true rock and roll legend like Ted Nugent, they laugh me off the phone. And it's no fair that all these guys are selling out arenas, and Ted Nugent is stuck at some state fair playing beside a tilt-a-whirl and an Andy Gump."
Oh.
To a handful of people. So I'm pro-rooting people to get Nuge more notice, but at the same time,
shit on him.
He's playing 35 people at the fucking Arkansas State Fair. It's no. I need to answer you.
Yeah.
By the way, I play to a lot more than 35 people.
That was the early days of people understanding message boards, understanding how they worked. That's right. I'm glad he never brought that up.
I
wouldn't have been able to defend it. I would have say, yeah, well, that's Doug. What are you going to do? He's my friend. Sorry, dude. I think what we were talking about before is that a lot of people are nice people. This is their act. Their act is say outrageous things, get people to pay attention to them, and then it becomes.
It's such a lousy trick, though. I just feel like it's so fucking lazy.
Well, I think it's not all that. It's like they believe that, and they also I believe Ted believes most of what he's saying. But I think he also says things in an outrageous manner because that's part of his showbiz style. Like he's the Motor City Madman, he's a wild motherfucker that's going to tell you like it is, and he believes a lot of what he says, and he makes sense about many things. But then he goes haywire with stuff. But when you're with him, you're like, oh, you're a nice guy. Like he's a genuinely nice guy, and as much as he says crazy shit, he's got his, he believes he's supporting the intelligent side of the message that you should be able to have guns if you're a responsible, law-abiding person. And part of me is like, yeah, you should be. Yeah. But maybe the problem is just like we were talking about people running for president. You don't really get the nuanced stance of who a person is from these campaign ads or debates or anything. You get this image, this flash thing. If you got to know, almost everybody's all right if you get to know them.
I'm saying he has no reason to have his opinion. Like he has to be a dick just to keep himself like Kilroy in the public eye.
He's got to kind of say outrageous
Alex
things.
Jones would be Alex Jones is a guy who maybe now he believes more than he should about his own bullshit, but he created that. Like that's what he created his own art form and made himself. Ted Nugent is a guy who had 2 shitty songs in 1977. Dude, how dare you?
Stranglehold is not a shitty song.
I'm desperate to stay in the spotlight. He's like a Kathy Griffin, clawing his. Look at me, please notice me. I'm still relevant, right?
But they go to him for opinions, man. I mean, there's a reason why, like, anytime there's a gun control debate, they go to Ted Nugent.
Because he's
good
going to
at it.
say the outrageous thing.
Not just that, he's good at it, man. It's easy to write him off like that. The problem is, like when he debates people about gun control, he knows actual statistics, and the actual statistics are confusing because you find out that there's out of gun violence deaths, a giant chunk of them are suicide, and then there's gang violence is the other ones, and then it gets down to actual gun violence, and then the numbers they're weird. They're not what you would want them to be. You want them to be cut and dry. Like people are using guns and crimes of passion and school shootings, and that's why there's guns. You need to take them off the table, but. Man, a lot of what we attribute to deaths are suicides. It's fucking dark how many people pull the trigger, and a lot of gun violence is that. And then we were talking about Chicago, how crazy Chicago is. What was the number again? 1,000, what was it?
I don't know, because I had another stat that I was waiting to pull up that day that was crazier to me, that from like 1970 roughly to about 89, the murders in New York City was almost triple that. It's like 2,245 was the highest.
Oh, yeah. In the 70s, New York was crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like average around 900, I think, in Chicago is what it is.
But there was one year, there was 1,500 in a year, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, there's one particularly high.
And it's way more than dying in Afghanistan. Way more than dying in Iraq. It's in Chicago. And this is like, for whatever reason, it barely gets our attention. And guys like him are important for getting that message out, even if he does it in this fucked up way. Like we need to look at like what this thing is. Like we definitely have a gun problem in this country, but I don't know. I don't think either side is right about what it is. I think we have a fucking human problem. The fact that humans are just running around shooting people is the problem. It's not the fact that we're smart enough to figure out guns.
Well, every time me and Chad Shank get drunk and have one of these conversations late into the night, it always boils down to overpopulation. There's too many people. Whatever the issue is, somehow we can always boil it down to, but there's too many fucking people.